For months, the internet had been burning with whispers, scattered clues, and silent tension between Bai Lu and Dylan Wang. Every small glance, every unspoken word, every photo from behind the scenes became a mystery that fans couldn't stop decoding. Were they together? Were they enemies? Or were they both just pretending for the cameras? No one really knew, until now. It began during a quiet interview session in Shanghai, one that wasn't meant to go viral. The studio lights were dim, the air heavy, and the silence between Dylan and Bai Lu was louder than any question the host could ask. When Dylan looked at her, his expression softened, as if the years of hidden truth were pressing against his lips, begging to be released. The host asked a simple question, one that would change everything. "Dylan, how do you really feel about Bai Lu after all this time?" For a moment, Dylan smiled. But it wasn't the usual confident smile fans were used to. It was fragile, trembling at the edges. He leaned forward, his eyes locked on hers, and said, "I think the world never really knew what happened between us. And maybe that's my fault." The room fell silent. The crew members exchanged glances. Even Bai Lu shifted in her chair, trying to hold back the tears that were already beginning to form. He continued, "People think we drifted apart because of fame or rumors. But the truth is, I never stopped caring about her. Not even when the cameras stopped rolling. Not even when the stories got cruel." Bai Lu looked down, her fingers trembling as she tried to hide her emotions. But when she finally spoke, her voice was soft, almost breaking. "Dylan, do you know how hard it was to keep quiet while everyone was blaming me? I saw headlines every day. They said I left, they said I was cold, they said I didn't care. But I did. I cared more than I should have." Dylan's eyes glistened, the weight of regret clear in every blink. "I know. I should have defended you. I should have said something. But back then, I thought silence would protect us. I didn't realize it was destroying you." The confession sent fans into a frenzy the moment clips leaked online. Within hours, social media exploded. "He finally admitted it," one user wrote. "This is the closure we've been waiting for," another added. But the story didn't end there. Later that evening, Bai Lu was spotted walking alone through the quiet streets of the Bund, the city lights reflecting softly on the river. Reporters followed at a distance, unsure if they were witnessing an ending or a new beginning. Dylan arrived minutes later. No cameras this time, no lights, just two people who once lost everything to silence finally daring to speak again. When he caught up to her, she didn't turn immediately. The wind brushed her hair across her face, and her voice came out barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't be here, Dylan." He replied, "Maybe. But I couldn't leave things like that. Not again." She turned, her eyes glistening. "You hurt me." "I know," he said. "But you also made me better. And I never told you that." The words hung in the air between them, heavy, fragile, real. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest, and finally said the one thing that shocked everyone who heard the leaked audio later that week. "I forgave you a long time ago, Dylan. I just didn't know how to tell you." The next morning, the internet was in chaos. Fans were crying, posting, analyzing every second of the video. Some said it was closure, others believed it was a new chapter. But everyone agreed, this was the most honest moment of Dylan Wang's career. Days later, both of them posted cryptic messages online. Dylan wrote, "Sometimes silence is love that forgot how to speak." Bai Lu replied hours later, "Sometimes forgiveness is love that learned to heal." Their words sent shockwaves across social media, turning what was once a scandal into a moment of quiet understanding. By the end of that week, the entertainment world changed. Producers began discussing new collaborations. Brands that had once distanced themselves now wanted both stars together again. It was as if their honesty had breathed life into something forgotten. But what fans didn't know was that there was still one final conversation, one that no one recorded. It happened inside a quiet cafe, far from cameras. Dylan arrived first, nervous, fingers tapping the edge of his cup. When Bai Lu entered, she smiled softly, and for a moment, everything felt like it did years ago. "I'm leaving for a new project next month," she said. "I don't know when I'll be back." He nodded slowly. "Then I guess this is goodbye again." She shook her head. "No, Dylan. This time, it's not goodbye. It's just, see you when the story brings us back together." And for the first time in years, Dylan smiled, not as an actor, not as a rumor, but as someone who had finally found peace. Outside, the night was quiet, the city lights glowing softly like the ending of a film. They walked separate ways, but everyone who knew their story understood one thing: this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a truth that took years to be spoken aloud. The days after the interview felt like a storm that refused to pass. Clips of Dylan and Bai Lu's emotional exchange flooded every social platform. Millions watched, millions commented, but few understood the pain behind their words. Behind the polished camera lights and carefully crafted images, there were sleepless nights, quiet regrets, and the kind of longing that never really fades away. After the interview, Dylan locked himself in his apartment for 2 days. His phone buzzed endlessly: directors, friends, fans, even people from his management team. But he didn't answer any of them. He sat by the window, watching the rain pour down, and whispered to himself, "I said what I should have said years ago." Across the city, Bai Lu wasn't doing much better. She stared at the same interview clip playing on her phone. Each word from Dylan echoed in her head, unraveling emotions she had buried deep. She remembered the early days, how they laughed on set, shared late-night noodles, and dreamed of the future. Everything had felt so real then. But fame came fast, and with it came fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being too close. Fear of losing themselves in a world where emotions were currency and silence was survival. That evening, Bai Lu received an unexpected call. It was Dylan. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the city in the background. Finally, Dylan said quietly, "Can we talk? Not for the cameras. Just you and me." There was hesitation, then a soft sigh. "Where?" "Where it all began," he replied. The next night, they met at the small park near their old filming set. The air was cool, filled with the scent of rain-soaked grass. The same park where, years ago, they had rehearsed lines, shared secrets, and made promises that were never kept. Bai Lu arrived first, dressed simply, no makeup, her hair tied loosely. Dylan arrived moments later, wearing a hoodie and a cap pulled low. But when their eyes met, the disguises didn't matter. "I didn't think you'd come," he said softly. "I almost didn't," she replied. "But I needed to hear what you couldn't say back then." Dylan took a step closer. "I was scared, Bai Lu. Scared that if I told you the truth, I'd lose everything. The roles, the fans, the image they wanted me to have. But keeping quiet made me lose something even bigger. I lost you." Her eyes shimmered, reflecting the park's dim lights. "Do you really think words could have changed everything?" "Maybe it was already too late, Dylan." He shook his head. "It's never too late to tell the truth." She laughed softly, not out of joy but sorrow. "You always knew what to say." "No," he said. "I just never said it when it mattered." The silence that followed was heavy, filled with years of pain and unspoken love. Bai Lu finally sat on the park bench, her hands clasped tightly together. "You know what hurt the most? Seeing you pretend like we were strangers." Dylan sat beside her. "Every time I did, it broke me a little more. Every interview, every event. I saw you smiling, but I could tell it wasn't real. I wanted to reach out, but the cameras were always there." She turned to him, her voice trembling. "Then why now? Why tell the world now?" "Because I'm tired," he confessed. Tired of acting off-screen. Tired of pretending we never had something worth fighting for. A tear rolled down Bai Lu's cheek, glistening under the park light. And what do you want now, Dylan? He hesitated, his voice almost breaking. I don't want forgiveness. I just want you to know that everything I did, the silence, the distance, it wasn't because I didn't care. It was because I cared too much. She looked away, her chest rising and falling with emotion. You always had the right words, but never at the right time. Dylan nodded slowly. Maybe this time I do. For a moment, neither of them moved. The world seemed to pause, as if time itself was waiting for their next words. Then, softly, Bai Lu said, You hurt me, Dylan. But I can't deny you were also the one who made me feel most alive. He smiled sadly. Then maybe that's enough. The rain began to fall again, gentle at first, then stronger. But neither moved. They sat there, two souls who had finally stopped pretending, finally facing the truth they both avoided for years. The next morning, fans woke to another shock, a joint statement posted by both stars. It read, We've both made mistakes. We've both been silent for too long. But sometimes silence speaks louder than words. What matters now is peace, for ourselves and for everyone who believed in us. The internet exploded once again. Some cried, some celebrated, some said it was an end, while others called it a new beginning. But what no one knew was that after the post, Bai Lu sent Dylan one final message before she left for her next filming location. It simply said, Thank you for finally saying it. Maybe in another lifetime, we'll get it right. He replied minutes later, Maybe this lifetime isn't over yet. And just like that, the story of Bai Lu and Dylan Wang became more than a rumor, more than a headline. It became a lesson about timing, truth, and the courage it takes to speak when the world is watching. Because in the end, love doesn't fade. It just waits for the right moment to be heard again.